Hi, good morning, everybody, or afternoon, depending. Have a look. We're going to do some pastels, and these are just kind of a few examples, just to kind of give you a sense of where we're going, what we're doing. A couple of apples. You can tell it's an apple from the shape, also from the stem. That, I'm guessing, is a pear. Maybe that's a pear too. There's lots of different varieties. I think that's like an Anjou, and that might be a Bartlett. I'm not sure, depending on how ripe they are. And related to a lot of the stuff we did before, we even did an orange. You can see the highlight when we did our spheres. Highlight. This time it's on this side, the shadow going over there. This one we got the highlight and the shadow going that way. So eventually you'll pick, because you gotta have a little shadow, a little background, a little table, and then a bunch of blending. Pastels are wonderful for blending because they're their own kind of little blenders. Let's look at those two for a second. Again, notice the highlight goes across, leaves a little shadow. You can kind of see the shadow in this one. Happy little shadow. Choices you'll get to make are, of course, what colors do you want for your background? What color do you want for your apple or your pear? Or it could be, that looks like it could be a peach. Could be an apple, but there's no stem. All right. Another thing is, check it out. That one goes up and down, portrait orientation. This goes landscape. You're going to have to choose. Makes a little more sense to go this way for the pear because it's tall already. Okay. Now how we got there, let's have a look. Number one, draw a little shape. Now you'll notice it overlaps a little bit there. So you go around, leaving that little bump. What else do you see here? It's hard to tell because it's fainter, but it looks like Mr. Shaw, in addition to his ever important name, everybody, he put a little border. I didn't use a ruler, I just free drew it. That one as well, similar. And those are big apples, right? They go fill right top to bottom. Next, taking our pastels, do a really big, what do we call it? Really big highlight, because it's going to get smaller. As you see, now this one is on the right, this one for whatever reason is on the left. As you can see, the blending makes that smaller. So do it at least the size of a toonie to start. And then eventually, what do we have here? A little bit more, a few other colors. Orange is like an orangey red something or other. And you can still see the paper coming through, but it gradually gets a little darker, and most of the motion that I drew it with goes in that way. I added the shadow already, whereas for this one I haven't added the shadow yet, but you know, I'm kind of getting there. Here the background line is about a third of the way up the page. That one's about a third of the way up the page, just varying states of completion. Where's one? Oh, this one, it's 2/3 of the way up the page. So when we put in a background line, you can put it right in the middle, but often we go a little bit lower or a little bit higher. Okay, that's a good little intro. Now, to start, this is what you will do. And, oh boy, good, I have a pencil. Boom, boom, boom. 1, Mr. Shaw. 2, like a 1/2 centimeter or so. I like to turn my page. And I pull using my whole body slowly and steadily. Some people wind up doing a little wobbly, but you know what? That's okay. How's that look? Oh, lovely, thank you. Now, just remember, why do we do the border not necessarily perfect? Is if we're gonna frame this later, you can always get a mat and cover over that rough edge so that it's gonna be like a nice, perfect edge. But if we didn't have a border, then we'd wind up doing pastels on the table, and no. All right, that was number 1, name. 2, border. 3, we're gonna work on our shape. Now, let's just try the apple. I'm gonna go near the top. Important part is that little overlap. That gives us a start of our 3D-ness. 3D-ness. I don't know if that's a verb. I'm gonna make it even a little bigger, and then you can do a little like something and maybe a leaf. Nice. Okay. Oh, what? Yes. Background line. Background line. They kind of line up. Not too bad, but remember the pastels will cover it up nicely. And just to remind myself, somewhere in here, I'm gonna have a little bit of a what's that thing called? The shadow. And here's going to be the highlight. Highlight, I'm going to do, I can do it in pencil. I think the pastel will probably cover it. And I'm making it pretty big. Name, border, shape with that bump, and little leaves, shadow, highlight. Boom. First thing first, got my pastel. Get some paper towel, because these pastels are messy sometimes. So I do this to clean it off, because I want a nice pure white. Clean. All right, now I tend to hold it straight up and down for this part, and I'm just going to do some little circles, happy little circles. And just because I'm feeling like it, I'm going to press fairly hard so that all the paper, see a little bit of paper there showing through, I'm going to get rid of all the paper at this point. Oh, now, you might notice, really important, see if you can see it, there's a little bit of extra pastel right there. If you get little bitty extras, there's a big chunk, just grind them in. Because if they wind up on the floor, on the table, again, huge mess. It's not the custodian's job to take care of that, it's ours. Boom. What? You said what color? Let's do greens. All right, greens. I'm seeing, well, obviously that's the lightest green. That's kind of a medium green. You even have this kind of olivey green. Maybe I'll use that. And then the super dark green. Okay. And then who knows about those things for now. So starting with my lightest color, I'm going to go around it, maybe brush up against it a little bit. Straight up and down with the pastel. I'm doing little swirls. Everybody does it a little different. And I got little nerds there, get rid of them. I'm not sure what I'll do with this bumpy part. Maybe I'll fill it in a bit. And this is just like when we did our spheres. Again, I'm going to go around here. Although I didn't go very wide with the light green. Maybe I could have gone a little lighter. And this one I'm going to just do a gentle pass. Nothing too extreme, like too hard. Oops, I went over the edge. That's okay. Remember, the edge we want to do a good job. No messy edge. But pastels are, well, they're a little bit messy. There's a little nerd. I'll get that in. And it's kind of a circle, 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 more or less. And why not go for the darkest one? Okay, Mr. Shaw. And you can use the edge. I'm going straight up and down, but if you use the edge, say to do the edge, you'll have a little more control. Careful, my hand almost smushed it there. You can use your fingers, but oh my gosh, pastels are actually made to be their own blending tool. So we don't, I'm not going to go too high in that one. We don't need a blending tool like our finger or paper towel or a smudger. We actually use the pastel itself as the blending tool because they're so soft. So I'm going to bring in this one again, fill in that space a bit. And getting dark. Maybe I'll go in there with that one a little bit because that's the valley. Back to the white. Now my white is going to overlap my green. Oh, voila, la magique. You see I got that little nerd. Okay, I'm going to get that little nerd and I'm going to rub it in. And as I go across, the white gets bigger. But I get that beautiful gradient. That lovely little gradient. Put that aside, jump to our medium or light green. Go across the medium. And happy little circles. And a few more of those. And so the paper in here starts to disappear. And the color becomes much richer and more saturated. And yes, we have got, what do we call it? We've got blending happening. Beautiful blending. Oh, that's the medium one. Amazing how far I took it over. That wasn't the medium, that was the light. Now the medium. Go here. Go on our edge again. Try and give it a really crisp edge. Sometimes you gotta go back and take a bit to get that edge really nice. There we go. taking our time, being precise. You all get to choose your own colors. And you know what? We're all going to do a pear, and we're all going to do an apple. And then after that, it's a bit up to you. Some people are like, I want to do an avocado. I want to try cherries. I want to try blueberries. And you just sort of make it up a little bit. So a few things are the project for me, and a few things are you get to play with it yourselves. Now that's looking good. There's lots of little nerds. Grab them, mush them in. You can also take them and put them on your paper towel, just not on the table or on the floor. And I've almost totally obliterated the dark one. So let's take some of the dark one. And you know, I haven't even used that one. The dark one, I'm gonna see what happens if I go the other direction now. I went from light to dark. Now what if I go backwards? A little bit, just depending on how much I want there. I'm gonna skip to the light green and start to get any little spots. Medium green right there, so that none of the paper, very little, shows through. And I'm doing little circles, but you can vary the direction a little bit if you want, because you know the fruit is varied. It's not pure green. Often it's a like, look at this one. It's got like little changes in the color a little bit. Right, and I want to go back now to the white, but with the green. So the white, I'm gonna try, because that's a really big hot spotlight, highlight. I'm gonna shrink it a little bit, and oops, got a little messy. So that now I'm going very, very light with my touch. Pull it out again a little bit. So I wound up with a whole bunch, even though I used white plus 3 greens. In the blending, you wind up with all these in-between new greens. Something like that. Go. All right, now my little feathers. Why not use my other green I haven't used yet for that? Feathers, did I call them feathers? That's very close to the word feuille in French, which is leaf. So technically I'm not totally wrong. Got those in, and I happen to have a black. I'm just gonna do a teeny bit of something there with the black so that there's a couple of greens, and smudge that over slightly. Cool, not so bad. Okay, now you're gonna get to choose your background colors. Up to you. However, you notice in these ones, I did 2 blues. I did white over top of pink or red or something. Here is 2 blues with white. I think maybe there's green. So it's not necessarily one solid color. This one I did solids, but I've got my fancy shadow in there. I'll let you kind of choose them a little bit. I like the variation. This is a blue and a yellow to make a green. This still needs some work, but it's a couple of blues with white. Here, that brown is actually over top of a blue, and then the plain blue top, light blue. I'm not quite finished that. Shadow, I'll just say, well, before I let you jump in, and I'm just about going to finish, I'll do the shadow, and we'll say it's green, so I'm going to do an opposite. I'm going to do a red shadow, and then, when I get close, I'm going to slow right down, because I want a clean edge. And so if it's light's coming from this side, shadow goes out that side. I just happen to like this ochre, so this is going to become my background. All right, and I'm going to go along the edge on its side. I'm going to go along the edge on its side. There'll be a bit of blending there, and then here, straight up and down again. Watch what happens when I go over the shadow, though. Oops, I smudged it over. Okay, I'm going to try and clean that up a little bit. Clean it up a little bit, straight up and down. And then I'm actually going to go over the shadow with the ochre so that they are truly the same. Well, they merge, shall we just say. All right, so from there, I carry on. I can do the red again if I want or not. If I'm happy with the color, I'll leave it. But as you saw with some of the other ones, I took a secondary color and made a brand new one. So if I just look at something, what would happen if I added pink to that? It's gonna make a whole new color. Sometimes you wind up getting streaky bits. That's okay. It's because I didn't clean that off. All right, I've been talking for a while now. Geez, 15 minutes, 39 seconds. You've all been very patient. You get the idea. Number 1, your name. Number 2, the border. Number 3, the shape with a little indent. Number 4 is the background line, either a little bit above or a little bit below. And if you're doing a pear, which incidentally has a little bit below, you go tall with your paper. Pear shape is also a lot like an eggplant, is also a lot like an avocado. Highlight, work your way across, darker, back and forth, blending, shadow, background. Beautiful illusion, 3D. You're awesome.